In 1898, Norman Triplett conducted a study about bicycle riders and the time it took them to complete a race. Surprisingly, he found that the riders rode 3 to 5% faster when they were competing against each other rather than trying to beat their own time. This laid the foundation of social facilitation, which means that we perform certain tasks faster and better when we're in the presence of other people. This effect only pertains to easy tasks, as Robert Sayons found it only enhances easy and known tasks but hinders difficult tasks. You might have been in a situation where you had to calculate a really difficult math problem, and it's just easier to do without your brother swimming around cosplaying Sonic. So why do we perform better in the company of others? One of the explanations could be something called evaluation apprehension. Nicholas Cottrell argued that we get aroused by the thought of other people evaluating us. This effect is what drives you to speed up on your morning jog as soon as you envision of the girl waiting at the bus stop. You might also have found that it's far easier to keep running if someone is looking at you, whereas if you're jogging on an empty road, you feel more prone to walking. So what if your small bike and jog group got upgraded to an Olympic stadium? Now you find yourself in front of 30,000 people, all intensively watching you run one round of 400 meters. Hold up, you think. How do I run? Which foot goes first? And I forgot how to breathe. Congratulations, you're now choking. Not literally choking, but you're the victim of a psychological effect where even the most trained athletes can't perform a simple task that they performed a million times before. Overthinking and overanalyzing a simple situation can cause something called analysis paralysis, where you find yourself more likely to stutter when public speaking, throw the bowling ball the wrong way, and missing the dartboard completely when the cute girl is looking at you. When we're in crowds, some people are simply more prone to choking due to the fear of making an error. So what if you're in a situation where people are not evaluating you? Let's say in a tug of war where it's impossible for anyone to know how much weight you're actually pulling. In an experiment, Max Ringelmann found that people participating in a tug of war would exert far less power than what they would if they were alone. That means in a group of 5 people, where each can pull 50 kilograms on their own, they might only exert 40 kilograms worth of power when in a group. And as you add more and more people, that number diminishes. This term was coined social loafing, and it's due to this effect that 4 out of 5 people in your group never do any actual work other than looking at the conclusion and designing the front page. So, to sum up both of these concepts, the presence of others does something to you. If the individual effort is evaluated, it leads to evaluation apprehension and thus a better performance. In a group setting where individual effort is not evaluated, it leads to no evaluation apprehension and thus a worse performance. Slack, if you will. Another interesting concept is Deindividuation. As the name suggests, it refers to the diminishing sense of individuality and self-awareness. Men in the military all shave their heads, cheerleaders wear the same uniform and pom-poms, and gangs throw the same sign and wear the same bandanas. This is all to remove the individual differences and make the group act like one cohesive unit. Thus, whatever applies for the group also applies for the individual. This sometimes results in atrocious actions that the individuals would never commit alone. A person in a lynch mob may loot and burn down a building despite no abnormal psychological conditions, but simply because they lost a sense of individuality. Another example is the famous Stanford prison experiment, where half of the subjects were made to dress in the same uniforms and shades. After just 6 days, the experiment had to be stopped because the guard subjects showed sadistic behavior and serious violence towards the other subjects. Lastly, the effects of group amplifies our pre-existing views in something called group polarization. So imagine you're an average Joe and you think Star Wars is pretty great. Jar Jar Binks, Darth Vader, and your Yoda are pretty exciting characters, so you rate the show 8 out of 10. Then, the next week, your marriage isn't going so well, so the same evening you find yourself in the local Star Wars fan club. Everyone likes the show, and they all rate it about an 8 out of 10. But in each their mind, they think that everyone else likes it more since it is the Star Wars fan club. So they all share their undying love for George Lucas, and suddenly the show for kids is a solid 10. Because everyone is hyping each other up, and nobody wants to be the one person who goes against the group. This one is called pluralistic ignorance, and it's a false assumption that others hold a different opinion than themselves. Star Wars went from a grade 8 to a hyped up 10 because every individual had a false assumption about the collective opinion, due to opinions and views being exaggerated in a group setting. So being with other people can both be a good thing and a bad thing. The presence of others is essential, just as it is essential to sometimes spend time away from others.